There's a lot of conversation right now on the internet about social media and basically whether it's any good, whether it has any purpose, whether it's a big waste of time. And a lot of pundits are basically giving their pros and their cons. Sometimes it's biased. You can expect a LinkedIn insider to extol the LinkedIn platform. You can expect somebody who's been in MySpace for 3 years to say how terrific MySpace is and so forth. And also you can expect psychologists and sociologists to jump on the bandwagon and find things to talk about in terms of social media, whether good or bad. Um, so I'll give you my 2 cents. One key thing to keep in mind is that pretty much everybody that talks about social media, and I am no exception, is speaking to some extent to gain visibility, to get their own views to be heard, and you have to question about each individual viewpoint's validity. It's not just because you read one point of view, it suddenly is the law of the land or God's word or anything like that. Um, there are many differing viewpoints, and also there are many differing behaviors that generate those viewpoints. I remember reading a while back about a guy that had a terrific life on Second Life, and his first life was beginning to suffer as a result. He had constructed for himself an extremely successful life on Second Life, and was neglecting his real life as a result. His friends were actually worried, but he was his mogul, his music mogul, and he had all the girls falling at his feet in Second Life, and he didn't want to give that up, so he was absolutely obsessed and almost addicted to Second Life, spending all his time in it, which wasn't productive, and that's a perfect example of an unproductive time consumption. Anything new tends to generate these ripples in society and tends to capture some fringe elements and carry them in the wake of this wave. But the key question to ask is, how is this affecting our general culture? How is this affecting our us as a people in general? And it's hard to say if it's good, it's hard to say if it's bad. The one thing that's absolutely unquestionable is that it's here. You can't deny that, you can't fight that, it's here, and we have to adapt or perish to some extent. So that's one thing to be said. The other point I wanted to make is that social media, to some extent, and I'm not adopting any particular moralistic view on this, is an interesting inheritor, to some extent, of social behaviors having to do with the first wave of the internet and the porn industry. And what I mean by that is this, in the fact that the porn industry captured a lot of activity on the internet in the 90s and the beginning of this decade. And now it's subsiding. And now social media is emerging as something that people spend inordinate amounts of time on. And I think that one thing that we've demonstrated is that there's not so much people who are sex-starved or desirous of sex, but there's a lot of us that are lonely. There's a lot of us that are dying to connect, dying to reach out, dying to be relevant, dying to matter. And in the same way that sugary candy has no nutritional value, but it tends to be a preferred quick gap measure, stopgap measure for people that are hungry, maybe porn filled that sugar rush of the people that are really desperate for a human interaction, desperate for connections, and desperate for a sense of their humanness. Humanness that is actually now answered in the social media context. Now, there are people that say that it's a tremendous waste of time, and what I say to that is that anything that you do will be a waste of time or will be an enjoyable activity and a rewarding activity to the extent that you know what you're doing and to the extent that you're leveraging this activity usefully and competently. Tennis, played by people that have absolutely no idea of the sport or its rules, is a tremendous waste of time. pretty much anything, any activity that you can think of, done incompetently by people that don't quite know the rules of the game is a waste of time. In that sense, the same can be applied to all of the different social media platforms. And people jump in like lemmings without any strategy or sense of purpose. They get overwhelmed and eventually they get disenchanted or the opposite, they get addicted to it. There is a happy medium point for all of this. And one of the key things is that each one of these social networks and each one of these social networking platforms has a raison d'etre, has a purpose for being, and has a way that it can be used right, and many ways that it can be used wrong. Let's take Facebook as an example. Facebook is terrific as a way to keep in touch with friends that you want to keep in touch with, but you're not in the general vicinity, you're not in a position to have lunch with them every day or grab a cup of coffee with them every day. They've moved away, these are friends from college, your mom and dad who live in Florida, and how do you keep in touch? Well, Facebook is invaluable for that because you can upload pictures of your kids, you can share moment by moment aspects of your life, you can share your views, you can get caught up in the same event together. During these elections there was a lot of Facebook buzz about Obama and about McCain and so forth. But Facebook is primarily about friends and about tight-knit friendships and how to build these. One of the things that people do wrong with Facebook is they start accepting any and all invites, and then this intimacy that Facebook lends itself so well for gets diluted. You don't want your boss on your Facebook. You don't want your business acquaintances or your marketing associates to be in your Facebook because there isn't that degree of intimacy, and you don't necessarily want to share the pictures of your kids with them. There are actually several recorded examples of people that have been fired or did not get the job or did not get an opportunity because they released too much information to too many people on Facebook. Same thing goes for MySpace. MySpace can be used for a band or for a celebrity to promote their wares, but primarily it's a way for people to invite friends into their home, into their apartment. So you want to understand that level of comfort and intimacy. If it's your apartment, would you really invite a stranger or a casual acquaintance into your bedroom? So that's MySpace.